Hi, this is HPWULola, and you're listening to the Ingress Insights podcast.
Hello, agents, and welcome to the second episode of the Inverse Insights podcast, a special section of the Ingress Insights podcast, where we go through and talk about non-Ingress things. In this week's episode, as I hope you'll have seen by the title, we're talking about Harry Potter Wizards Unite, and in a later segment we have HPWULola on to talk about memories of Harry Potter Wizards Unite. First of all, I'll get in to talk a bit about what the game was and how it may have influenced future Harry Potter games. Harry Potter Wizards Unite was Niantic's third big title that came out after Ingress and Pokemon Go, and it released in June 2019. Then unfortunately was sunset in January 2022, so it has been a few years now since it closed down. But people were fond of it being a bit different from the other games where you were casting spells by almost tracing glyphs like Ingress against enemies and walking around getting port keys hatched, and also doing some multiplayer battle features in fortresses with others. Like many other Niantic games, it had to change a bit for the pandemic and enable things to be done from home, such as the night bus doing fortresses there. However, it was a good little link into the Harry Potter world and carried on the story in 2019, seeing what the characters were up to then and what was happening. There are, of course, other Harry Potter mobile games that have come before and since. So, for example, there's Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, which is more a visual novel game with mini games in. And then there's the console game Hogwarts Legacy, which has recently come out and has met acclaim, but then controversy for being involved with J.K. Rowling, who's an arse for things that she says about trans people. I think we can all agree on that. And then I know that Warner Bros. Have now tried to distance themselves from her where possible. And last I heard, they were trying to buy the Harry Potter franchise so they can do with it what they want without her involvement. I guess she'll take the money and run, would be my guess on what will happen with that, but it's yet to be seen. But then, even then, I know the Harry Potter franchise is problematic in many areas, even without her involvement for certain depictions, things like that. So I understand it's not great, but I do also enjoy the games and enjoyed Harry Potter Unite for what it was at the time and playing it with friends. So totally get if it's not your thing due to the author and things happening in it, but I was able to enjoy it without thinking too much about that myself. Just wanted to get that in there and mention that fact about the author, really. And now on to the main bit as to why you've all tuned into this podcast is our interview with the former Harry Potter's Unite community manager, HPWULola, up next. Hello, agents, and welcome to a special episode of the Ingress Insights podcast, Inverse Insights. This is where we go through and look at other Niantic properties and speak with people from Niantic connected to these properties. And in this week's episode, you hopefully know by the title, it's all about Harry Potter Wizards Unite, which is a Sunset Niantic title. But we do have with us Nadia slash HP Woo Lola, as most of you would know them from Harry Potter Wizards Unite team. If you want to introduce yourself, Nadia.
Hi, everyone. This is Nadia, aka HPWULola. Excited to talk to you all about memories from Harry Potter Wizards Unite.
And as I said, Harry Potter Wizards Unite, unfortunately, no longer an active game, but I think all of us that have played have kind of fond memories of the game and the community around the game. And you worked on it as the community manager. What's the kind of thing of how that came about, and how did you find managing the community for such a big title?
Yeah, I actually had the really awesome opportunity of joining Niantic, I think the week before Harry Potter Wizards Unite launched. So I got to, I think, enjoy that glory of a fun launch party after both the teams at Niantic and Warner Brother Games put so much work into creating this like amazing title. And I originally actually joined more on the operational and social support side. So, a lot of players will turn to Twitter and Facebook when they have complaints on the game. And so I was helping the team at Niantic really cater to all of those comments. Eventually, as things progressed with Harry Potter, I was partnering with HPWU Phases, who was the community manager from the Warner Brothers side. And when they left to go take another role at a different gaming company, I ended up becoming the primary community manager for the game.
Mm.
And so it was a lot of role growth really quick at Niantic, which was really fun, a little intimidating. And then I think when we entered the pandemic and how the game was played, how we collaborated as a team, everything changed. I learned a lot. And so it was just a really fun opportunity, I think, to get to work with this community, and I really appreciated it.
Yeah, I was thinking about the pandemic, especially with this game when it changed with things like the night bus and doing, I know those various Discord servers that did night bus collaborations, and there's the people like Expecto Go that I think was
Yeah.
behind a lot of them. How did you find that on your side of it and seeing that kind of kick in when the pandemic hit?
Yeah, I think 100% I can say like my favorite thing about working on this game was the community that surrounded it. And I think I can speak on behalf of like teams at both companies. Everybody really loved the community, whether they were in social media getting to interact with them or just hearing the stories that I shared about events like Wizarding Wednesdays and the different content that our WooTubers put together. We were all really touched with how this group of people like took the game that we created and made a whole nother universe with it. And I think they were really pivotal in keeping the community really connected when we hit the pandemic. Originally it was a game that was meant to go be played with each other outdoors, and we were meant to have those in-person interactions. And so I think everybody between the game designers and the community YouTubers got really creative in how we could still feel connected, even though we couldn't physically be together.
And then kind of thinking about going out playing, what was your favorite kind of feature within the game or favorite event that happened in it? Because there's quite a lot of events in the game to progress the story.
Yeah, I think definitely favorite memory was getting to go to the Wizards Unite Festival in
Mm.
Indianapolis. That was kind of still earlier when I joined Niantic, so for me it was a really great time to bond with my team and just see how like magnificent the player base was. Our events team did a great job at decorating the downtown park with these amazing like different Harry Potter tents, and there was like statues of different foundables around. And so you really felt like you were in the Wizarding World during this event. And so that was really amazing. My favorite feature, I've gone down memory lane, I think, since we planned this podcast, trying to like remember what I like the best, what I like the least. My favorite feature, I think, in general with Niantic games is the ability to send gifts. I think it's a
Mm.
really cute way to send a little virtual postcard. I still have a gift saved in my Pokemon Go account that I got at the King's Cross station in London because I love that little crossover and I will never send that. Um, but both the friends I had in real life and the friends I made playing Wizards Unite, I would send gifts pretty frequently. And so I loved getting to see where around the world everybody was and where they got to collect those unique gifts from. And then foundable wise, I was thinking of, I know we had like quadrillion brilliant events. And my favorite by far, as I think a lot of people's favorite was the baby animal one because it was very, very cute. The little animals are the confoundables. And I love the baby moon calf. That was my favorite.
I remember I quite enjoyed when there were the 1920s Fantastic Beasts portkeys when they came in as a thing. It was a nice little extra thing to do with those. And then a bit towards the end of the game, the adversaries, where you fought a big chain of enemies, and that was challenging when I was at a lower level than I think I should have been for challenging those.
Yeah, that was fun. I forgot about Porky's actually. So that was another blast from memories past.
I know with Harry Potter Wizards Unite, specifically, you got special gifts, so you could send varieties. It could be energy gifts or greenhouse event gifts. And if you progressed far enough along the skill tree, you got golden gifts. I remember I did
Yes.
that before the end, so I was able to send some out and get some.
Yes, I do remember at the very end, like right before sunset time, I asked to just I used the back end and I gave myself a bunch of gold gifts that I was sending to my friends. Like, here's my parting gift to everybody.
With the game, obviously there were other Niantic games that were already out, such as Ingress, Pokemon Go. Is there something that the team saw in those games that thought, oh yes, we'll want to do that or do our own spin on that kind of thing that they do? I know you said about the Fan Fest being similar to a Pokemon Go Fest in that regard.
Yeah, I think each of the games learned a lot from each other in terms of just how to gamify the real world map. It's such a unique platform that Niantic has created with really getting folks to explore the world around them while progressing in their various games. And the ability to use different IPs to create different experiences that match with different users is really amazing. I'm actually taking online classes right now, like I'm getting my MBA, and I've been able to write out Niantic's creativity and innovation with this platform a lot because they really did such an amazing job at building all these different products that cater to different people. I think one thing we are still learning a lot about, and I learned a lot about while working there, was just everyone's preference with using AR. I know that was
Mm.
a really powerful thing Niantic created, the augmented reality aspect for the games, but everyone had a different comfort in how often they wanted to use it. And it was nice that with Harry Potter and Pokemon Go, a lot of games, you could kind of play it without ever using AR and play it more kind of, I
More
guess, to
basic
yourself.
kind. Yeah.
You also had people who really leaped onto the AR capabilities
Mm.
and were taking these amazing photos of foundables with amazing like backgrounds. I remember especially when we had the dragon confoundables out, people were getting
Yeah.
really awesome pictures of dragons with like landscapes and sunsets. And so it really gave people the ability to see the Harry Potter worlds right in front of them. And that was really cool.
I know obviously there's quite a slew of Harry Potter games, like mobile titles and console titles. We've recently had Hogwarts Legacy that's come out. Is there any kind of inspiration apart from obviously the character models and things that team took from those games into the Wizards Unite universe?
I think working with the Warner Brothers team, they had a lot of insight on the Harry Potter community that they could bring into understanding, I guess, like maybe what kind of characters, what kind of events, what narrative that would
Mm.
really work with this game. Another thing I really loved about the game was that unique narrative that we put together. And it was a big responsibility on our writer to really create a story that I guess progressed Harry, Ron, and Hermione's life. You know, we all, like millions and millions of people read those books. And so we all wonder what happened next. And so I think that was one thing that they really learned from the Harry Potter community is just how to deliver this exciting story that continued.
Yeah, because I remember the story obviously continued on each brilliant event. I remember little bits of it now, like Ron getting amnesia for quite a while, and then the reveal of I think it's
Constance,
Gareth, someone being the initial big bad, and then gone to Constance. I remember hearing about there being a 5-year plan for the story initially. I don't know if that's correct, and then obviously having to be wrapped up at the end. Do you think it had a good ending overall, or would you have ended it differently if you had the chance?
I really like the way this story wrapped up. I think it was good timing. I know at points with the Brilliant event, I like things did get a little repetitive, and I remember seeing some memes of like, didn't we hear this before? But I think that the story wrapped up really well, and I think we did a good job at listening to the conspiracy theories and allowing our users who were really interested in the story, for example, like Professor Lynette, I think she always did a deep dive into the story and what was happening, and leaving enough flexibility with the storyline that people could make their own spin, I think is fun because then we all have a stake in what's happening in Harry Potter's life. But also ending, I guess, like the narrative about the confoundables and the calamity, we did a good job with that because then it's like, oh, like we all the story ended meaning that like, oh, we all succeeded. Like we did what
Yeah.
we had to do to keep magic safe. And I think that's a win.
I know you mentioned there about paying attention to the conspiracy theories for the team, looking around in all the various official, non-official communities to see what the thoughts were and how they could use those then.
Yeah, I think it was really funny to see. I think people suspected Constance like right away. She always would say some shady things, and people were like, this is a little suspicious. And so we were really entertained. And I would get together actually with our narrative writer, and like sometimes we'd read some of the conspiracy theories online. And I thought, yeah, we were very entertained with what people were coming up with.
It's good. And then, as I say, unfortunately, Harry Potter ended up sunsetting. I think I've still got it on my phone. I've not deleted it off yet, just because
Me
I'm
too.
lazy.
I have the icon there. Until I get a new phone, that icon will be on my homepage forever.
How did that, obviously, it was Niantic's decision. How did the team feel when that came about? Is that something you struggled with how to put it to the community in the right way and kind of let
Yeah.
us down easy?
It was difficult. I know at that point in my life, I was really close with the community, really close with the game. I had grown so much working on this product, but there is something to be said about ending something on a good note versus letting it go on for a little too long. And I think it was strategic for both Niantic and Warner Brothers to wrap up what we had made with this product and take those learnings and use it for future products on both for both companies. It was really tough. Like a lot of tears were shed, I think, when we had to announce it. And I played up until like January 31st when the servers cut off. Like I was like
Yeah.
up doing fortresses. I think with like a lot of our WooTubers, like Expecto Animagus, we were all up late until we were literally cut off. And so it was hard, but I am very grateful for the whole opportunity and the whole game and what it did for all of us. And so you have to think about it positively there, like what's it? Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. Something corny like that.
And then, even though Harry Potter was United ended, you didn't end at Niantic at that point, did you? Went on and did a few other things after?
Yeah, I got the opportunity to work on Peridot, which is Niantic's owned IP, and we took a lot of what we learned from the Harry Potter world and Wizards Unite into like influencing the growth of that game. It was definitely fun working on our own IP because we had much more flexibility with marketing and social media. One of my roles while working on that game was to like kickstart its TikTok. And I was literally encouraged to just like go crazy, be wild, like make some viral content however you want to. And so I was like running around the city taking little Peridot TikToks. I live in Seattle, so there's a lot of really scenic places to go take footage. That was, yeah, it was fun to have much more creative freedom with that product.
And then you moved on out of Niantic after that. I know you mentioned obviously you're doing your learning at the moment. What's the kind of next thing now for you?
Yeah, I think it's been a couple years since my Niantic chapter ended, which is crazy because it still feels so recent. But I work at a nonprofit science museum now, and I do business partnerships and engagement. And I'm also taking my MBA, and I still play a lot of Pokemon Go because I live like where I work is actually like the center of the city. So there's a lot of great stops
In the
there.
poke stops.
Lot of Pokestop. So I was like, oh, when I came in, I was like, everyone was playing Pokemon Go. I was like, can never escape. But it's a fun game, so can't deny that I enjoy playing it. And yeah, I think I'm just excited to see where I go next in life. I really thought about trying to get back into the gaming world. And when I first left Niantic, I was interviewing at a lot of gaming companies, and I realized like that uniqueness of the community that Niantic games brought with that like IRL aspect and the like explorative aspect is hard to replicate. And so a lot of gaming companies, like they're all really amazing and it's really fun to be able to create like a unique universe and experience for players, but it's hard to replicate that Niantic experience.
And you're not out there in the real world, as Niantic like to say. I think that's about it that I've got. Is there anything that you want to ask or tell the Harry Potter Unite community if they're listening?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if any of them will be listening, but I just wanted to give like one more shout out to our YouTubers. I think they really made this experience really awesome. And I want to shout them out by name, like Brita, Animagus, Professor Lynette, James and Sue, Orange Wizard, Hermuggle, and Mark Zillman. I worked with them so closely, especially when it was 2020 and we all were feeling so lost about all feeling lost personally and also curious how we were going to continue create community with the game. I got to know all of them just working on Discord, and they really, really helped me a lot. And so I'm so appreciative that like that was my favorite aspect, I think, of working on this game, like getting to collaborate with that community and both the teams like Niantic and Warner Brothers, like everyone who I got to work with was such a delight. And so I'm very grateful for the experience I had.
So I think that's about it for us for this episode with Nadia. So I'll move on and get things wrapped up.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening to the second episode of the Inverse Insights podcast, the special bits where we talk about things that are not Ingress and try and talk to Niantic staff members where possible on these bits. This one was for Harry Potter Unite. There's a previous one we've done with Asim from the Peridot team. Do let me know if there's anything else you'd like to hear from these kind of shows, any other games, even if they're non-Niantic ones, and we'll do what we can on this show. Thank you for listening again, agents, and happy hacking.